There's a place in hell reserved for women who don't support other women.
And joining me now with reaction to all the latest primary results, former advisor to President George W. Bush, Fox News contributor, we call him architect, the one and only Karl Rove. Karl, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
All right, your reaction, first we had Alaska, Murkowski loses, you had Rand Paul beat the establishment candidate, Sharon Angle, now it's Delaware. Your reaction?
Yeah. Well, look, all the rest of them are explainable, in Murkowski versus in the Alaska race, you had a long-time feud between two factions of the party. In Kentucky, you had a good candidate versus a candidate who had no message. In Nevada, you had a candidate who sort of self-immolated herself, and another candidate who had a consistent message. This is the inexplicable one, because Christine O'Donnell has come on here at the very end of the campaign, and there's a huge turnout tonight in Delaware. The total was estimated to be 30,000 people going into the primary, and it's come out 56,000, and she has dealt a defeat to one of the state's longest and best known and thought to be most beloved political figures, a former governor and 9-term Republican congressman in Mike Castle. So this is the one that's unusual, because this is not a campaign that has been going on for a year where you had one candidate who was consistently doing better as a candidate than the other, as in the case of Rand Paul, and there were not deep sort of family and tribal disputes as we had in Alaska between Miller and Murkowski, and we didn't have a candidate who committed suicide, political suicide, by saying things that got him in trouble with the voters. Instead, we have a true upset of somebody with little money, little track record, and I think this really says that this is more about Mike Castle's voting record than about the appeal of Christine O'Donnell.
I'm not sure if I agree with you. I think there's a battle going on with what we define as the establishment, where we're talking about with Dana and Stewart, and those that are taking strong conservative views. I mean, Mike Castle was one of the 7 or 8 Republicans in the House that voted for cap and tax, meeting with the NRA. He's not pro-life, and you have the establishment over the years. Look who they backed: Arlen Specter, Charlie Crist, Murkowski. They didn't support Rand Paul, Sharon Angle. There seems to be a schism here. There seems to be a divide.
Well, look, I'm not certain of this, because, look, there were conservatives on both sides of this race in Delaware. And one thing that Christine O'Donnell is now going to have to answer in the general election that she didn't have to answer in the primary is her own checkered background. You made my case. You made out a list of the things that Mike Castle had done right, or done wrong. You didn't make out a list of the things that Christine O'Donnell had done right. I've met her. I've got to tell you, I wasn't frankly impressed as her abilities as a candidate. And again, these serious questions about how does she make her living, why did she mislead voters about her college education, how come it took her nearly 2 decades to pay her college bills so she could get her college degree, how does she make a living, why did she sue a well-known and well-thought-of conservative think tank?
This is probably one of the few times we're going to disagree here, because I've met her, I've interviewed her a lot over the years, I found her quite impressive. And more importantly, she is a solid conservative. And I think what people are saying in this primary, in this race, and I think all across the country in these other races that we're mentioning here, is that, you know what, if you vote for cap and tax, a opponent that says they wouldn't, then they have a choice. They have an option. So I think it was very substantive, very based on issues, very based on the voting record of one and the promised voting record of another.
Again, you're making my case. This was about Mike Castle's bad votes. It does conservatives little good to support candidates who, at the end of the day, while they may be conservative in their public statements, do not evince the characteristics of rectitude and truthfulness and sincerity and character that the voters are looking for. And we'll see how she can answer these questions. She sure as heck didn't answer them thus far in the campaign. And now in the general election, she will be asked about it.
I interviewed her, and I felt her explanations were far more plausible than was
Did you ask her about the people who are following her home to her headquarters and how she's checked each night in the bushes? Did you ask her? I mean, there's just a lot of nutty things she's been saying that just simply don't add up to it.
It sounds like you don't support her, but I will tell you, I think
I'm for the Republican, but I got to tell you, we were looking at 8 to 9 seats in the Senate. We're now looking at 7 to 8, in my opinion. This is not a race we're going to be able to win. In my opinion.
You may be right in the end. I don't know, and we can look into our crystal ball and